Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Aston Villa 4, Celtic 2. The full-time score at Villa Park this evening in the final Champions League game of this league phase for Celtic. We are through to the playoff round of the competition, and a very memorable end to this stage of the competition as well. I don't think we'll be forgetting what we saw tonight in a hurry. The ups and downs, Celtic giving everything to try and walk out of Villa Park with a result tonight. In the end, we just came up too short. But a lot to be positive about, a lot to talk about, and we're going to try and cover it all in this edition of the Match Reaction. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. Hello and good evening, everyone. As I said, Aston Villa 4, Celtic 2, the full-time result at Villa Park this evening. You know what, listen, let me cut to the chase. Very proud of what I've seen from Celtic tonight. I know it's not a great result. You never like losing and you've got to take losing on the chin. But it's only the second time we've lost in the Champions League this season. And when you come to the end and you look at this league table upon conclusion of this group stage league phase, whatever you want to call it, to end it with 2 losses out of 8, to qualify for the next round, I know I don't want to just jump past the game tonight, and I know sometimes I can be quite ignorant to things that have happened in games like this. But I'm a big picture guy, and the bigger picture suggests to me that Celtic have done a really good job with this hand of fixtures they've been given. I've ended this journey tonight, you could say, with a smile on my face and with pride in the Celtic team, to be quite honest. And that includes tonight's 90-minute performance. You know, I think 4-2 is unfortunate. Granted, Villa probably could have scored another 6 or 7 if Johnson didn't clear one off the line and Schmeichel didn't make 4 or 5 saves. But Celtic had their chances as well, and they fought hard, considering we went out there with a depleted side, without key players, Kyogo just leaving us. You know, to be in the position that we were in going into this game, it was anything but favourable for Celtic. But we handled it well. I think we handled it with a hell of a lot of maturity and definitely improvement. To go 2-0 down inside the first 5 minutes, to lose the game only 4-2, and to actually be drawing 2-all going into half-time is night and day from what we would usually expect of Celtic in those sorts of situations. We've seen it happen in Dortmund only a few months ago, where we lost 7-1. We couldn't handle it. We were down and out very quickly. Tonight, it looked like it could be another case of that. In fact, I was thinking, why don't we just throw in the towel? But we didn't. We done the exact opposite. We fought back. We showed that we're a team that deserved to be in the position we're in, and a team that are in the Champions League for a reason. And even despite not having Dyson Maeda in the left and not having Cameron Carter-Vickers and Kyogo and whatnot, we still managed to find 2 very good goals, very high quality goals. And we managed to test Aston Villa for large portions of the game. So, you know, we're far away from being the perfect final product in the Champions League. It's clear that Celtic still need improvement. But I think what's most important about this Champions League season and what we have seen in this opening 8 games is that there has been a massive improvement, not just gradual improvement, massive improvement. Brendan Rodgers is taking this team forward. I truly and I deeply believe this, that Brendan Rodgers is taking us in the right direction. He was the perfect man to take us in this direction. And with signing Jota this past week, with signing Kieran Tierney, whether it's this week or this summer, and hopefully with a few more additions, get some squad depth and better numbers. You know, I really do believe in this Celtic side. And I seen examples of that tonight. So despite the result, despite the disappointment of sitting here on the back end of a defeat in the Champions League, look, I'm very proud of Celtic, and it's onwards and upwards for us, I think. So let's talk about the game in the manner we usually would. Take it right back to the start. We might not even want to talk about the start, but we'll have to. Aston Villa were 2-0 up inside 5 minutes. Morgan Rogers with 2 goals. I think he broke a record, actually, for being the quickest brace scorer in Champions League history, or something like that. I'm sure that's what I heard the commentators say. You can't do much to stop a player of that quality. He's unbelievable. He's been one of the Premier League star men this season. He's been Aston Villa's star man this season. An unbelievable form. His goal contributions have been unbelievable. And trust me, I don't like coming out on here and sucking up to other teams' players. I want to talk about Celtic and Celtic players, but you would kill for a player like that at Celtic, wouldn't you? He's unbelievable. I'm not meaning to give him the Modric treatment, standing up and giving him applause off the park like some of us did back in 2022. But he's unreal. And he really showed early on how dangerous he can be. I said it in my match preview that I thought the places we would struggle most tonight were at the full-back areas. Especially with, Greg Taylor showing in the Champions League games before that he can be sort of taken advantage of. I thought to myself, this could be difficult. But, him and Johnston were both culpable, I think, at the start of the game, being a little bit sleepy, being a little bit off it. And we were punished. The first goal comes from a ball from the wide areas. Strikers, Rodgers at the time, is effectively unmarked, puts the ball in the back of the net. And then the second goal, I mean, what a finish. What a finish from Rodgers. But once again, he kind of finds that space just out to the left-hand side of our defence. And I think there's a bit of maybe misjudgment on the part of Scales and Taylor to pick him up. But, it's not a great start. And they're the kind of starts we need to kind of avoid moving forward. The whole taking Celtic to the next level in the Champions League, that can only be done by avoiding these sorts of positions that we find ourselves in. Celtic aren't going to win Champions League games by being 2-0 down inside 5 minutes or being 1-0 down inside 3 minutes. It's happened too many times to us in this competition over the years. It happened in Dortmund, it's happened here. You're automatically giving yourself no chance. And that kind of softened us up, I think, for the first sort of 20 minutes of the game. Villa were in total control. I thought the game was passing by us a little bit. We were too sloppy. I thought really the only outball we had was to Adam Ida. In all honesty, I thought he was the only one that looked like he could maybe make something happen. I thought the service wasn't looking great for him, but when he had the ball and he was taking into areas, he was trying. And yeah, we just, as I said, I think we let the game pass by us. We were giving Villa a lot of confidence early doors, and I think that affected us. But something changed, didn't it? Something changed. And we found a huge goal which opened the game for Celtic. Adam Ida's first goal, honestly, came out of nowhere, I thought, at that moment in time. But just, wow. We talk about the £9 million we spent on him. Let's just put both his goals together here. Let's not skip by the first. But 3, 2, 1. Adam Ida. Wow. Where's that been all season, big man? There's the £9 million player that we signed. Somebody who I have stood by very loyally in this struggle of a season for him. I think we can call it that. Tonight showing that he has that quality. I thought Ida was brilliant in that first half, despite how poor we were for maybe the first 20-25 minutes of it. I thought Ida was just brilliant. And the 2 goals go to prove it. They changed the game. Adam Ida single-handedly changes the game, doesn't he, with the goal contributions. And big shout-outs to the guys who helped make the goals. Hatate on the second, Engels in the first. That's the, £20 million worth of players combining there to get you a big Champions League goal. Now, we're still miles behind these top sides in terms of spending. £20 million buys you half a player at Aston Villa nowadays. Buys us 2 players up here. But that's the money you need to spend to get these goals. Because they're big game players, big quality players. And both goals are brilliantly taken by Ida, by the way. Both of them. The first one especially, the calmness to keep himself composed, to keep himself in the right angle to score the way he does. That's the signs of the player that we had last year before he went back to Norwich. And I know that player's been there all season. He's just needed that confidence. And somebody, I think it was David Buick actually, big shout out to David, who pointed out during the game, maybe he is a player who thrives more in these games where he isn't playing against a low block. Maybe he does need to be that big tall outlet in a game where Celtic are on the back foot to really thrive. But I don't necessarily think that's the case with him, because we've seen him play against low blocks last season, coming on the park with 10 minutes to play when we needed a goal desperately against the likes of Motherwell and Hibs and whatnot, when they were playing the low block. He's a quality player. And tonight, I hope that gives him the rocket up the arse that he needs to really show how good he is. The second one is just a lethal finish. And honestly, do you know what? This is not me trying to rewrite anything, but I genuinely do believe if that fell to Kyogo tonight, it might go over the bar. Those are the sort of chances that we've missed far too often in the Champions League. That's a clinical striker's finish that we have been missing too often in Champions League games, in my humble opinion. Now, that's not me saying that Kyogo, I'm glad he wasn't there tonight and it was good that we sold him. Absolutely not. I'm not saying that. But I think in times, Celtic have missed too many chances that strikers should be burying. And he just doesn't think twice about it. He blasts it into the roof of the net. Doesn't overthink it, just gets it in there. Puts the power behind it to make sure it's got enough on it to beat the keeper, enough height in it to beat the keeper, but not too much that it's going to go blazing into the whole end or whatever end we were shooting at that point in the game. So Ida was just fantastic. I thought that we really livened up in that kind of last 20 minutes of the half. And I thought for times in that part of the half we were the better team. We were really, really unlucky. We should have took more chances. Villa got sloppy. There was one of the, you remember the chance that fell right to Rio Hatate, and he just hacks at it and hits it right into Martinez. And honestly, I think if it fell to any other player in that park, I'd have been confident to make more of it. It's just typical Hatate to do something like that. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I love Hatate. I'm not one of the ones that thinks he's rotten or whatever. But I just think that he's the kind of player who was a bit too nonchalant with it. He was a bit too, let's be cheeky with it. And we waste a huge chance. And then there was another one, I think 10 or 15 minutes later, where Villa passed it right to, so we just didn't take it. So, yeah, in that last 20 minutes, for as much as Villa had their chances, Celtic had theirs. And going into half-time break, I felt confident Celtic could maybe walk away with something. And before I forget to say it, I think the biggest moment of that half, and I've been on Twitter already saying this, right? I don't care what you say. Ida's goals are huge, obviously. But Ida doesn't get those goals if it isn't for the clearance off the line by Alistair Johnson. That's a huge moment. Now, don't get me wrong. I must admit, I don't think Johnson was great tonight. I thought he had a sloppy game for large portions of it. And he gets himself in that situation through his own mistake in the first place. However, in saying so, that clearance off the line was the biggest moment in the first half. If that went to 3-0, honestly, I'm scared to think what the game might have been if that went to 3-0. I think the heads would have dropped. I'm not going to lie. I think the heads may have dropped. I'm not saying it would have been as bad as Dortmund. I don't think we'd have went on to lose anything like 7-1 or 7-0 or anything like that. But I certainly don't think we'd have scored 2 goals. I think the heads would have dropped. That clearance off the line was massive from Johnson. And that, in summary, is the kind of individual moments that you need in the Champions League that maybe we've lacked in big games for too long. So, yeah, I know the full-time result doesn't go on to be kind to Celtic, but those moments are huge and you can't underestimate them. And by all accounts, I think we started the second half pretty well. I think we were generally unlucky to not find ourselves with another goal between maybe the Ida's second and Aston Villa's third. I think that Celtic could have had one in there if they were just a little bit more clinical. But, Villa were the stronger side. And they found themselves back in the lead. I think that we just kind of dropped after that. I think that you could see that Celtic didn't have the depth to answer Aston Villa's depth. I don't think we had the players to make the correct contributions in the late stages of the game. Now, we have good players, of course, but and with all due respect, because I want to see them succeed, but young guys like Daniel Cummings on the bench tonight, young guys like Dane Murray and guys like Lewis Palmer, they're not the game changers. You want a Jota to be coming on in moments like that. You want Maeda to be available. We didn't have the players, I think, to answer to the questions that Aston Villa started asking of us in the second half. They got very, very aggressive. And Celtic defended it really well for the first 15 or so minutes, I thought. But when Watkins made it 3-2, it was just kind of away from us. Now, once again, we've done really well to keep it 3-2 for a large portion of the game. I don't think there's anything to be too down about and to complain about. But we just didn't have the answers to the questions. That's the only way I can word it. I think you could see that players were tired. Key players were tiring. Engels started getting a bit tired. I think you could see Ida starting to get tired. Kuhn was being really silenced down that right-hand side. I think Villa knew they'd done their homework coming into this, knew they had to keep Kuhn quiet. And no disrespect to him tonight. I'm not going to sit here and say he was terrible because he was put in a tough spot and he's clearly not ready for these sorts of games, I think, in young Yang. But he didn't offer anything. So we had no real creative outlet, I think, when Villa started asking those questions. And when we started to tire, it all just kind of went pop for us. But we defended well. Schmeichel, once again, with a huge game. Listen, put your cards on the table for a minute and be honest. It could have been 5, 6, 7 or 8 for Villa tonight. It could have been. Schmeichel was forced to make some very big saves. We were forced to defend in very big moments. But that's football. And when you're the underdogs, you've got to do that. So it was nothing out of the ordinary. It's exactly what I expected to see from Villa when they started getting more control in the game. But we handled it well. And honestly, if we had that depth there, if we had another striker through the door, if we had Jota available, who knows? Maybe we would have been able to answer with some form of equaliser to make it 3-3 somewhere in that game. But we just didn't have the legs for it. We didn't have the players for it, sadly. And Villa managed to go and obviously seal it up with the 4th goal. It's just a simple mistake from a young lad who's not ready for those games. Dane Murray makes a mistake. Not going to hang about to dry for it. He'll know that it was a mistake. He'll know that he should have done better and he shouldn't have been so... I don't know if he was trying to be cautious or just kind of safe. But he'll know he shouldn't have done what he done. He allowed Villa, he allowed Watkins to come in and play with too much respect. Or Rodgers. No, it was Watkins. Yeah, Watkins come in, take the ball off him. Gave him far too much time to think. And I think he overthought it, Murray in his head. But, you know, I'm proud of the fight that Celtic showed. I think it's a good sign of improvement and what could potentially come in future years in this competition. Listen, we're not going to be winning the Champions League anytime soon, but I certainly think with a bit of investment and a trust in the manager and the squad and the improvements that come to the squad, we could go to big places. In summary, for this very all over the place match reaction and very emotion first match reaction, I think Celtic went there and done tonight exactly what I could have expected. You know, I wasn't in my head thinking Celtic would go to Villa Park and win this game, especially with the people missing. Kyogo, Maeda, Cameron Carter-Vickers, even Valley being gone. It was unfortunate timing for us. So, you know what? We gave it a right good go. And against a side who finished in the top 4 of the Premier League last year, against a side who could do that again this year, and who are now in the last 16 of the competition, I think there's a lot to be proud about from this Celtic performance tonight. So, you know, obviously it's about winning. You want to win the game, and defeat isn't nice to anybody, no matter if it's Real Madrid or Young Boys or Rafe Rovers. You want to win, but I'm proud of what Celtic done tonight. I've not got any complaints. I've genuinely not. Listen, I think some players could have been better. I think there was some poor moments in the game, but tough game. Talking about Real Madrid, we should probably talk about who we're facing in the next round. Despite the euphoria of qualifying for the next round, sadly, we need to be slapped back down to earth, and the next round's not going to be nice. I know plenty of people are going to be asking about this, and I may as well just say it now. We will cover it a bit more in depth tomorrow. Celtic will either face Real Madrid or Bayern Munich in the next round of the Champions League. So it looks like it's the end of the road coming up. Listen, I know I'm talking about being optimistic and positive and whatnot, but facing the side top of the German Bundesliga and the side top of La Liga, it's not exactly ideal right now, is it? Two of the giants, two of the 3 biggest clubs in the world, or 2 of the top 5 clubs in the world. Yeah, not ideal. If we win that, we would either face Atletico Madrid or Bayer Leverkusen, which would have been a lot nicer, I think, to be honest. But we got to go through Madrid or Bayern first. The first leg will be at Celtic Park on the week of 11th of February. We don't know if it will be Tuesday or Wednesday yet. The second leg will be directly following that, the week directly following that. So yeah, we're going to have a tough draw. Bored, spend some money. Right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. We'll be a bit more in-depth and a bit more professional about things tomorrow, I'd assume. But until then, take care of yourself, and I'll see you all next time.